U.S. Congressman and Dean of the Liberty University School of Business. He joins us now from Lynchburg, Virginia. Thanks so much for being with us. Dave, you worked in that chamber, and in spite of, whatever partisan division there is, it's a civilized place to work. How could this happen?
Well, I think you've been seeing violence in the streets for 4 years in our country. That's never happened. And the conservatives are usually kind of the boring party. We don't respond with violence and protests, breaking into things. The left's been doing that for 4 years. All the major Democrat cities have been under attack. Richmond, where I'm from, was boarded up. People are out in the streets with machine guns. In front of statues on Monument Avenue. It's all been reported. And so this was kind of the tipping point, and the conservatives who believe in the rule of law violated their own principles. You cannot do that. And no matter how frustrated you are, the president, your news reporting said that they're baseless claims of election fraud. There's plenty of evidence that shows that's not true. Pennsylvania, in fact, that's one of the problems with the violence. It kept the state of Pennsylvania from presenting its evidence yesterday. The state house and Senate of Pennsylvania.
Sure, Dave, but when you have 80-plus cases filed and every judicial body that read the evidence presented said this is not even valid enough to look at in a court.
That's not correct. They didn't say that at all. They said they didn't want to deal with it. They punted because the judiciary in this country doesn't handle elections. No case was ever met on the merits. They were all about standing. Do you have standing? Does the court want to solve a political issue? So technically, they're correct. The legislatures were slow to move. Just because the court cases said we don't want to see it, even conservative justices like Scalia, who recently passed, said, no, don't give me your work to do. And he was very conservative. But that is the proper judicial philosophy. The judiciary should not be handling cases unless the House have already met them.
I mean, it's interesting to hear you say this, Dave, because even though it wasn't what I was actually looking for in this interview, it is so pressing right now because people still feel the way you feel. And so what is that to say then, that this fight would go on? Can we see riots and chaos like that break out again because people like yourself believe this still has not been resolved and an election could have been stolen?
No, it's not about feelings. It's about the rule of law and the Constitution. The conservative side is still upset because we had a Steele dossier that was made up by the Democrat Party under Hillary Clinton 4 years ago, and they were trying to impeach President Trump before he ever became president. So there's been 4 years of that going on with violence in the streets from the left and the Marxist groups who proclaim they're Marxist groups. This is new. Violence is new, and it should not be countenanced or accepted by anybody. But whenever you have a move toward the Marxist piece and the socialist piece, guess what? Lenin and Stalin, and you get revolutions. And it's not a happy day in this country. You can tell who wants control versus who wants freedom. People that are after the First Amendment, the folks on Twitter that are taking down First Amendment free speech, the folks who want to limit the Second Amendment, guns, they don't want to let Americans live free lives. Americans are used to that. That's going to be a source of tension.
These people are still living their free lives the way they want. I mean, there might be, challenges made, for example, to the Second Amendment, but the Second Amendment has always stood, and nobody really does believe that it's ever going to be taken back. No matter how many school shootings or mass shootings may happen in the United States, those freedoms are still guaranteed.
No. The media, the mainstream media has been doing fake news for 4 years on the Russia scam. The report came out, showed there's nothing to it. For 4 years, CNN and all the mainstream media were just falsehood after falsehood.
Well, right now,
and then Twitter and Facebook and all the big tech, Zuckerberg put in $500 million for the Democrats on the election process. That's never happened in this country.
Right.
And so
but I mean, the other side of the media is still pressing Trump's line that, like you, that this election was rigged, it was stolen. We can't trust U.S. institutions to have a fair and free election because the judiciary fails in the wake of fraud. So, you know what, Dave, it's really, again, I'm going to repeat, it's been so interesting to talk to you now because you really do show that this isn't over. Whatever happened last night, we could be looking at more of it to come because people still feel very much that this issue is unresolved. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Dave, we're out of time. I'd like to speak to you again at a later point. We'll see how this story develops. But right now, we need to cross to New York and